I am Jared Sison, a Constitution-loving, God-fearing, good-looking, chubby white boy, the progressive socialist left's worst nightmare, and I'm not going anywhere.
She's out of control. Her world's spinning round and around. She's out of control.
Welcome, everyone. Today's journal entry, Pluto and the Pandemic, Going to Extremes. I'm going to share today two anecdotal stories from my life that occurred this last week. But before I do, and these stories, I think, express really well where we are as a society in our global COVID epidemic, pandemic crisis, health scare. Numbers mean things, especially in mortality rates. If you don't have numbers, you don't have deaths, and you have to have deaths to have a pandemic, right? So I want to read these. I want to make sure I get these right. These numbers are from the Center for Disease Control. In 2018, our population in the United States was 327,096,263 people. In that year, the total number of deaths were 2,839,205. The percentage of people who died in America in 2018 was 0.86800288851%, or less than 1%. Now, this is all deaths. This is deaths from the flu, deaths from cancer, deaths from diabetes, hypertension, atherosclerosis, suicide, homicide, vehicle accidents. This is all deaths. If you died, you're in this list. In 2019, our population was
328,239,523.
total deaths,
2,854,838. 0.862481941.
again, less than 1%. Fast forward to 2020. Our population was
331,002,650.
time out. This is where I'm going to be extremely gracious to the left. The CDC has not put out their numbers yet for 2020. There's no definitive, fine-tuned death count. People like myself on the right tend to think it's going to be closer to 2.8 million, like in years past. People on the left say, no, it's going to be closer to 3.2 million. They want to try to somehow prove that there were 400,000 unique deaths to COVID in 2020. So, for the purpose of today's video, I'm going to concede there's 3.2 million. I'm going to concede that there's 400,000 more deaths this year than last year, even though we don't know for sure yet, and I think it's going to be closer to 2.8 million. I'm going to give them their 3.2 million, okay? So in 2020, our population was
331,002,651.
and with a projection of 3,200,000 deaths, the odds of dying in the United States was still less than 1%. Even if we give the left the 3.2 million death wish list, in 2020, you still had less than a 1% chance of dying of anything, including COVID. The death rate in the United States is less than 1% without COVID-19, and it's less than 1% with COVID-19. So my question to you, are you willing to give up your freedoms and the way we used to live forever when we still have less than a 1% chance of dying in America for any reason? And that COVID only increased the chance of dying by 0.1%. Are you willing to give it all up? No longer have Christmases together as a family, Thanksgivings together as a family, not go to funerals, not go to church, not go to weddings, not to let your children socialize with other human beings, not to let them go to school? You really want to let that be the new norm? It was less than 1% in 2018, less than 1% in 2019, and less than 1% in 2020. It's time for us to wake up. I was going to the front of the house to get into my car earlier this week, and there was a guy walking down the street. He didn't have a mask on, so I thought, okay, maybe I could talk to this dude. Because here in California, Newsom wanted us all to have masks on outside no matter what you were doing, whether you were by yourself, jogging, walking, wherever. He wanted you to have a mask on. And I waved hi to him, and as he got closer, I said, hey, well, looks like we're going to recall Gavin Newsom, maybe get some order back where we don't have to wear masks outside. And he goes, huh? I go, and he felt his face and he realized he didn't have his mask on. I said, yeah, remember a month and a half ago, he was suggesting we should all wear masks outside? And the guy says, well, you know, so there's kind of some reasons why. For the first time in my life, I had Pluto. I said, I'm sorry. Yeah, I went to the doctors because I got sick. They said it was COVID, and I ended up getting Pluto. my toes are dark blue. And I said, oh, yeah, okay. If you had the flu, you had an upper respiratory infection, and yeah, you had probably poor circulation, and that might have been the onset for your Pluto. Well, how old are you? I said, you look like you're my age, late 50s, early 60s. He goes, yeah, I'm 63. I said, okay, well, when you get old and fat, like me and you, we have circulation problems, and you have to stay active. I said, it's great that you're walking. That's good for you. But the blood wasn't getting to my capillaries. I said, yeah, those are the very end of your blood vessels, and those are the first things to go, man. I said, first it's your toe, then it could be your foot, then your knee. Before COVID happened, you had circulation problems. COVID didn't cause that circulation problem. He didn't like anything I had to say after that, and so he turned and walked away, and I said, well, let's just hope that they recall Gavin Newsom. Look, at people on the left, they don't like the masks either. But they're wearing it as a badge of honor because they're subservient and they're listening to the man. They're listening to their leaders. They don't mind having their freedom stripped. They don't mind not breathing air. I mean, that dude, the last thing he needs is to have his oxygen restricted like this. Yesterday, I was going to the post office. I had 4 little boxes. And I'm approaching the door, and you don't know my post office. In my post office is a very narrow walkway before the main doors, and there's a rail here. And you walk up the stairs, and the door opens. If somebody was to open the door, you can't walk up the stairs and get in. The handrails here. So I was walking up the stairs with my boxes, and I noticed somebody was about to come out. And being chivalrous, or like they say today, chauvinist, I open up the door. So I effectively have a 3-foot by 7-foot glass in front of my face. But when she saw I had forgotten my mask, when she saw I didn't have a mask on, she literally jumped back like a cat. Scared, And I was freaked out because I didn't realize at that point I didn't have my mask on. When she sees that I'm behind the glass and I'm not an immediate threat, she scurries out the door and down the handicap ramp, or the disabled ramp, sorry. And I said, she's freaked out because I didn't have my mask on. I walk in, I don't talk to anybody. There's the little drum you pull down, so I walk out 2 seconds later. Now when she walked down the ramp, she could have walked or stayed away, if she was really afraid of me, but she didn't. She went on the sidewalk, walked back to where I was exiting, and she told me, "Where's your mask?" So I wanted to test the situation here. I lied to her. I said to her, I got my vaccine. I just got my second dose, so I'm good, man. And she says, vaccines are only 95% successful. I said, I'm sorry? Vaccines are only 95% successful. I said, okay. So then if we all get vaccines, are you going to wear your mask the rest of your life? Because I'm not. She started to say something to me, and then another gentleman who was going in the post office, I use the word gentleman lightly, goes, yeah, you probably friggin' voted for Trump, dude. He walked in, he didn't hear me, and I said, yeah, you probably voted for Hillary. Here in Claremont, if you're in the village area, they call the village downtown, and you don't have a mask on, they can cite you. So I said, these guys, they're going to be on 911 here in a second. I got in my car. She was yelling things to me as I was leaving. That speaks to where we are today with this whole situation. They are pitting people against each other. And you know what? The left would love for us just to have our own little civil war, because then they don't have to do anything. And I'm not going to go into Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood and all this, and eugenics and euthanasia and all this stuff that has a lot to do with the ideology of wanting to pare down the population. But I know this for sure. They wouldn't mind at all if we had our own little civil war and started offing each other. I'm actually pretty amazed at the restraint demonstrated so far by the average American citizen, given the circumstances, that we haven't had a civil war yet. But I can see the beginnings of things that worry me. And the reason why I share these anecdotal stories is that there are a lot of people out there who are just not educated. And they're not looking to the future. They're not playing the chess game. They're playing checkers. They want to king themselves. They want the quick win. And they don't realize the freedoms and the rights that are being crushed because of their ignorance. It's our job to teach. Governments will always want to seize more and more and more power. The government establishment never, ever, ever downsizes and never, ever wants to relinquish power once they get it. If we don't express our power as the people, and we're not engaged citizens, and we don't share this information one with another, and our opinions, and our knowledge, I'm afraid for our country, and I'm afraid for our Constitution. We can't be afraid. Don't be afraid, guys. You know, they say, oh, you can't talk politics at church, and you can't talk politics at Thanksgiving dinner, you can't talk politics at work, and you can't talk politics at When can you talk about your country and its future and politics? People want to shut us down. Family members want to shut us down. I was at an event with my family yesterday. I had a sister-in-law that I have a good relationship with. She brought up COVID. She said, oh, yeah, I got my vaccinations. She said, oh, my family just told me they all had COVID. And I said, well, you know, the thing about COVID, she goes, I don't want to hear it. I've just had a bad week. Please, I don't want to hear it. Don't go there. Don't go there. I don't want to hear it. I was canceled. The progressive left always resorts to acting like a teenager when they don't get their way. They will cancel you. They will try to shut you up because they can't win the debate. Stop up, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. We can't be afraid of that. We have to move forward. We have to act in a way like we believe our Bill of Rights, like we believe our First Amendment rights. We have to act like we believe them. We just can't give lip service to them. We can't be afraid to share our political testimonies with everybody we meet. And when I say political testimonies, if there's some of you who feel, oh, it sounds like a religion, you know what? It's as important as religion. Believing in the Constitution, believing in your country is just as important as believing in family and God. And you better get that. I'm Jared Sison, Patriot Journalist. I almost forgot. Please consider becoming a patron of free speech. Go to the link down in the description to patreon.com, and if you do, I'll get you some free-range chicken eggs free. Well, not free, but cheap. I'm serious. I raise chickens. Well, chicken eggs. I got a free-range area, got a chicken coop.